on the pandemic, but honestly, I'm just terrible to work with. On a one-woman show. But before we dive in, there's something that I need to confess. I'm an American. I know, not proud to be. My dad's family immigrated from Cuba to escape dictator Fidel Castro. And now I'm here in Edinburgh to escape dictator Donald Trump. Yeah, hot take, I know. Talk about the American dream, right? Sounds great in theory, but kind of questionable in practice. Like communism, full circle. But no, there's something else that I really have to confess. I'm autistic. I know, nobody knows how to react to that. Usually I get one or two reactions like, wow, you're so perfectly normal, and oh, that explains a lot. Anticlimactic, or some people like to say, that usually doesn't happen. Oh, come on in. I just told everyone I was autistic. That's all you missed. Yes. What was I saying? Thank you. But usually, yeah, but like I said, it's anticlimactic, or some people like to say that usually doesn't happen. But seriously, I'm guessing you all have a few questions, like, what is inspirational porn? What does any of this have to do with autism? And of course, how does one become an inspirational porn star? Let me guess, asking for a friend? You might not know the phrase, but trust me, you have all been active participants. Inspirational porn refers to those feel-good news stories you see on the news or social media that portray disabled people as these poor, innocent babies in desperate need of protection from this cruel, dark world. And then suddenly a hero, someone not disabled, swoops in and shows basic human decency, and they get a, I don't know, badge of military merit, or a key to the city, or some other you're such a good person prize. Because who else would go so out of their way for them? Exactly. That's what makes it newsworthy. If you guys thought you were going to leave here today feeling proud and uplifted, think again. Let me manage your expectations here. This isn't some fluff piece you catch on a slow news day. No, this show isn't about overcoming adversity or rising from the ashes like a mighty phoenix just to finally declare, I'm thriving! Sorry, not sorry. I get the appeal, though. It's the kind of stuff that makes eyeballs, audience members, feel oh so proud of themselves. I mean, that's why you guys are here, right? For me to make you feel good? Well, it's not OnlyFans IRL, if that's what you're thinking. Okay, judging by all this, you might think otherwise. But I am not stripping for pounds, no matter how good the pound is right now. Oh, actually, you know what? When I put it that way, no. Just emotionally there. For now. But, oh my gosh. But don't you worry, there'll be plenty of sex, drugs, and other taboos you never expect to hear from an autistic woman like me. Lucky you. But if that's too hot to handle, now's your chance to leave. Alright, consider yourselves warned. But don't you worry, I'll make sure you're satisfied. It's my specialty. Now just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I mean, if I can do that for you, does it really matter who finishes first? Alright, enough of the teasing foreplay. Let's get on with it. Shall we? Thank you. Chapter 1, Early Life. As a young girl, I was adored for all my strange quirks. While the other kids were playing tag, I was too busy watching ants march on a sidewalk to care. What did my mom think of this? A future entomologist. My dad, a genius, just like him, for trying to avoid the one thing he can't escape at the beach. Sand. Hot take from a Floridian. Sand gets everywhere. No matter how hard you try, you can never get rid of it. It's like herpes. Not that I would know. Another idiosyncrasy or irrational fear of mine was movie theaters. The volume was just too much for my nervous system, especially with that THX clip from back in the day. Yeah, you'd think George Lucas was trying to break the sound barrier with that thing. It was horrible. It's this like loud, piercing noise. It's the oh God, there it is. Oh no. It's a bit much, right? Just a bit. To combat this, my grandma invented the magic jacket. She wrapped me up like a cocoon to defend from the dangerous decibels. And then suddenly, the theater wasn't so loud anymore. Take that, George Lucas! And my mom finally stopped worrying about whether or not I go to the movies with my friends. In spite of their anxieties, my family, much like my grandma's magic jacket, wrapped me in love and protection. Nothing could touch me. I was their first precious baby girl, a shining star. Even strangers on the street would stop and gush about how cute I was. Don't tell my siblings. My family knew I was special. They just didn't know how. One fateful day, my pediatrician cousin, Elliot, rest in peace, noticed my unique traits through a more clinical lens. He observed that I wouldn't look him in the eye or even acknowledge that he was in the room. His diagnosis? Autism. Because the only things I seemed to care about were my parents and his stethoscope. Well, isn't that normal, my parents thought? Why would that be weird? What was wrong with our perfect little star? After multiple medical opinions, I was diagnosed with moderate to severe autism at 2 years old. Doctors didn't think I'd ever taught, let alone write, produce, or star in our own one-woman show at Edinburgh Fringe! Thank you. Although they did make sure to mention how exceptionally beautiful, there I am, beautiful I was. Apparently both a silver lining and a very specific diagnostic criterion. But you have to understand, it was a long time ago. It was only the 90s. Still, my experience is rare, especially as a cisgender Latinx woman. In fact, women are far more likely to be diagnosed later in life than men. And why is that? Why? Because of Dr. Hans Asperger, of course. Chapter 2, Who Put the Ass in Asperger's? What? Did you guys not see that coming? Oh, shit. Wrong Nazi. Let me explain. Most people see autism as either high functioning or low functioning. Easier to deal with or harder to deal with. I imagine most of you would put me in the high functioning camp. No pun intended. These labels came from Austrian scientist Hans Asperger. And yes, for those of you paying attention, it was Austria in the 1940s. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I'm glad you guys are. If not, you might need a history lesson. I've heard those are hard to come by nowadays. Okay, at least where I'm from. Asperger studied these groups of young white boys. Oh, you're good. Didn't mean to slice it there. And called it Asperger syndrome. The artist formerly known as high functioning. Those deemed low functioning, euthanized burdens. Despite Dr. Hans Asperger's limited and deeply problematic research, we now know that autism exists across all genders, socioeconomic backgrounds, and races. Yet, many overlook the differences between men and women. I believe this is because women are held to a stricter social standard than men, regardless of their neurotype. Hell, men can literally get away with rape and murder, but God forbid I don't kill my toy guy Barbie voice and suddenly I'm a bitch! Oh, what's a poor girl to do? The problem with labeling people, especially children, based on how well they function is that it dehumanizes them. It reduces disabled people's worth to how much they can contribute to a capitalistic society. Calling me high functioning isn't just insulting to me as an autistic person, but even more so as an autistic Jew too. Yeah, talk about killing two birds with one stone, am I right? Yeah, Dr. Nazi Asperger would love that kind of efficiency. But not as much as this guy. The better terms today are low support and high support, rather than high functioning and low functioning, respectively. The more you know. Chapter 3, Inside the Inspirational Porn Star Studio. Now, what kind of low support girl writes this whole show about herself and expects people to show up? Me. Obviously. And let's be real, autism doesn't really look like anything. Well, except maybe this good. Okay, I'm just kidding. Or am I? No, I get it. The idea of me being both hot and autistic, if you will, can freak people out. Or maybe turn them on. Well, if I am your thing, feel free to leave a donation after the show. They say those who have mastered their craft make everything look effortless. But honestly, I'm barely functioning. Yet no one is the wiser. The technical term for it is masking, but I like to call it the performance of a lifetime. Masking is when you copy other people's behaviors, so much so that they almost feel like your own. Like method acting. I'm basically the Daniel Day-Lewis of existing. How many people can say that? Exactly. The Oscars are fake anyway. Sure, Daniel Day-Lewis Lincoln longer than the real Lincoln. But here's the thing. Daniel Day-Lewis can stop being Lincoln whenever he wants. Me, I wear a meticulously made mask I can't take off. When people rave about my personality, I just smile and say, thank you. I ran it through multiple focus groups. It scores very high with the girls and gays. Now, I'm sure you're all thinking to yourself, Miss Gabrielle, none of that is special. I act differently with my friends, family, coworkers, bosses, etc. all the time. Doesn't everybody? To that I say yes and no. Masking isn't just about having a customer service voice at work or acting differently with your lovers compared to your parents. You already know how to act, without even trying. For instance, how many of you would yawn anytime you see someone else yawn? Honestly, you better make me want to yawn. Well, let's just assume it's because I just did and not because you're bored. Yeah, it's okay. When I was young, I saw this commercial with yawning animals. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. And it said that yawning along with others was a sign of empathy. Well, naturally I didn't want people thinking I wasn't empathetic, so I forced myself to yawn anytime anyone else did, even if it didn't feel natural to me. Oh, well, not like a psychopath, more like an alien trying to blend in. Oh, but imagine how much I could get done if I was a psychopath. Masking feels like walking through a metal detector. Something always sets it off. So you keep trying until there's nothing left. It builds up and destroys you over time. Like alcohol poisoning. Autism is a lot like vodka. You see some stranger across the bar and he buys you a shot. It tastes like nail polish remover. Disgusting. And then your best friend buys you one and you can't say no to her. And then your family starts buying you shots and you take them like a champ. Without warning, you projectile vomit like the girl in The Exorcist. The bar goes silent, your best friend's horrified, and the stranger just sees a freak as bile drips from the corners of your mouth. You know better than to lose control. It's your fault for getting so drunk in the first place. Now you're alone, covered in your own vomit, cleaning up the mess you made. No matter how much sanitizer you use, something always smells off. Meltdowns leave one hell of a hangover. Like a hangover, there's no quick fix, only time heals. They're simply punishments for pushing yourself past your limit, ignoring every warning sign. After years of building up my tolerance, I live life every day as if it were an audition. An old acting teacher of mine once said, "You never know who you're going to meet, what they'll do for you, or how one audition could change your life." Or, to simply put, be presentable and don't fuck it up! Or, to put more politely, be the best you can be. Oh, I hate that phrase. It seems like no matter how hard I try, there's always someone else with that elusive it. Is it confidence? Charm? I mean, I'm no Miss Congeniality, but what do these girls have that I don't? Not autism, that's for sure. If I was picked, what then? Maybe if I had taken direction as a kid, I could have been famous by now, instead of giving my mom PTSD for mommy and me activities. I'm sorry, Mom. That's my mom. All she wanted to do was emotionally bond with me like all the other moms and babies. But no, I'd rather be buried in a ball pit for hours. Just ball pits and blowing bubbles. Those are the days. Now I have bills, responsibility, and existential dread. What the fuck is that bullshit? When I wasn't balls deep in a ball pit, I'd be outside painting the house with water. That was a genius idea my grandma had. Kept me entertained for hours. I don't understand how anyone couldn't see my untapped potential. Okay, next slide. Chapter 4, early career. My parents told me I was autistic in about the 5th grade. I didn't think anything of it at the time. I was too busy riding the high for my first ever role as a genie in Aladdin Jr. After a performance for the younger kids, a kindergartner came up to me and asked me if I could give him my autograph. And then the next thing I knew, I was swarmed by a mob of 5, 6, and 7-year-olds. It was the closest I'd ever felt to being Britney Spears. I hired 2 of my friends as my bodyguard and my manager, even though my bodyguard was smaller than me. Still, they did their best to control the chaos while I was signing t-shirts, planners, notebooks, whatever these kids had on them. Might have even signed an arm or 2. As insane as this all was, it made perfect sense to me. Why wouldn't I have fans? Okay. My meet and greet ended as soon as my limo my mother picked me up from school. That was one of the first times in my life that I actually felt like I was good at something. Theater became my first love, and I've been chasing that spotlight like a moth to a flame ever since. I don't know where I'd be without it. All those years of masking had finally paid off. I wasn't just accepted, I was celebrated. As Shakespeare once said, "All the world's a stage and men are merely players." Well then, where's the script? On stage, you know when you're on and off. There's a set routine rehearsed for months on end, and everyone follows the same script. On stage, I can control what happens. Instead, life has been feeling like a constant improv with no rehearsal. People are unpredictable, especially the adults you thought you could trust. No wonder I have so much anxiety and fear of failure. But, like in the theater, the show goes on. They say the best actors are the ones who make strong choices. And others, well, choices were made. Chapter 5, the beginning of the end of my career. When I was 12 and in middle school, I called disclosing my autism the A-bomb. I thought it was a clever pun, because dropping that truth bomb ever had dire consequences. The bomb dropped one day in math class. I don't remember how it came up, but my crush, the most popular boy in school, asked my teacher why I got extra time on his math test, or my math test. When you have autism or any disability, you get something called, well, what we would call in the States an IEP. You guys would call it an EHC, Education, Health, and Care, with not exactly perks, but accommodations. And in the States, what we would call FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, it's supposed to stay private. Or so I thought. So instead of a professional, "It's none of your goddamn business, you punk," my teacher goes full Oppenheimer. Oh, yeah, no, it's great. Oh, she's autistic. Just a casual FERPA violation at 7:30 in the morning. My gut dropped. The room went dark. It felt like a police helicopter spotlight was searing into my skin. And then my crush, the most popular boy in school, shouts, "Ew, get her away from us, she has autistic germs." My social life flashed before my eyes. Like prey trapped in the corner, I fired back, "I wouldn't be talking if I were you. My brains are better than yours." I slouched back in my seat, bracing for the fallout. As soon as the bell rang, everyone was talking about it. That's why she's so weird. That's why she's so annoying. It was the beginning of the end. I didn't pass the metal detector. I couldn't pass go. I could not collect $200. Ever since then, I hid that part of myself for as long as I could. Oh, and that teacher, he didn't stop there. One time, he shouted at me in the hallway, "Hey, Gabrielle, I heard you had the hots for so-and-so," AKA the most popular boy in school. Yeah, that teacher was a fucking dick! When I was in 7th grade, I traded my quirky tomboy aesthetic for straight hair and makeup. I was stuck in that awkward in-between, the not a girl, not yet a woman. All I knew is I had to completely reinvent myself in order to get this scarlet A off my back. I thought the more normal I appeared, the less anyone would suspect anything. Solid plan, don't you think? What can I say? I'm the most confident and secure person I know. It was the same year that I had another crush. This time on the most popular boy in school's identical twin brother. As you can tell, I was starting to get a type. One day in PE, while I was brooding in solitude, the twin's friend comes up to me and tells me that the twin thinks I'm hot. I was in shock. This was a far cry from being called weird or annoying. And I guess waking up an hour early to straighten my hair had finally paid off. So I cautiously replied, "I think he's cute too." The friend runs to the twin. The twin flashes his crooked smile at me, and then they both walk over. I couldn't believe it, so I asked, "So you think I'm hot?" He says, "Yeah, I do." Most people would have just taken the compliment, but not me. I made the mistake of asking, "So what makes me so hot?" As naive as I was, I genuinely thought he was going to say something romantic, like, I don't know, how beautiful my eyes were, or how I was so much better than all those girls who cyberbullied me on MySpace. But no, he says, you've got a great ass. I didn't know how to react. Most people would have just left it at that, but not me. I had to get to the bottom of it. Unintended. So in my disgust and disappointment, I blurted out, but that's where I poop. He says, yeah. I know. Who needs Romeo and Juliet when you have whatever the fuck that was? In the locker room, the girls swarmed me. Oh my God, are you gonna go out with him? I said no. The whole exchange left me uneasy. I didn't want to date a guy that just liked me for my body, especially a part I thought was gross. As an adult, I've come to accept it's the part of me that gets the most attention. Okay, well, I like to think I'm more than just a great piece of ass. I've got great legs too. Especially after all these freaking inclines here. Jeez. Chapter 6. Accolades I never asked for. 6 years... You love me. 6 years later, I was invited to receive a senior award, but I didn't know what it was for, and I wouldn't until I got there, which drove me crazy. I watched as my AP classmates, advanced placement, people much smarter than me, collect their awards and announced they were going to Harvard, Stanford, Yale, your Oxfords and Sheffields. I thought I was going to win a drama award for my strong work ethic, even if it didn't land me lead roles. Or maybe a math award for resiliently pushing through trigonometry instead of just dropping the class like all my advisors suggested. That word, resilient, it still follows me to this day. It's well-meaning until you burn out. Then what? When life becomes overwhelming and you ask for help, people just say, you're better than this. They expect you to handle it. Like always. So anyway, this woman comes on stage to announce the special and exceptionally gifted award. I have to stress the exceptionally gifted part because no one seems to remember. How do I know this? 2 guys in front of me. What's that? Oh, that's for special needs. Annoyed, I just brushed it off. It had nothing to do with me. Or so I thought. On stage, the woman goes on about a girl who's overcome adversity, yada, yada, yada. Cue the same inspirational porn shtick. She goes on and on about a girl who's so resilient, never gives up, and is in the drama program. Wait. Hold up. Shit. Fuck, no, this can't be happening. Then she says my name. It was one of those rare moments I did not want to be on stage. I stood up, squeezed past the row, then tripped over some asshole's foot. But, like a cat, I landed on my feet. On stage, the woman awkwardly fumbles with the medal, dragging out the pomp and circumstance. Desperate to end my misery, I just grabbed the fabric and draped it over my shoulders. Everyone laughed, thinking it was so quirky. I just wanted to disappear. As soon as the ceremony was over, I bolted to my parents' car before anyone could see the tears streaming down my face. My mom stayed to console me, while my dad gave that woman a piece of his mind. She kept insisting, it's not special needs, it's exceptionally gifted. We all knew better. No matter how you spun it, it was never the exceptionally gifted award. It was always the special needs award. The next day, my teachers apologized and my classmates asked me what my deal was. I said ADHD. Because everyone thought they had ADHD. It was the safest answer. I know, so political. You know the worst part about that story? It wasn't my teachers or my classmates. It was me. I had the chance to educate and advocate for myself, to garner insight and respect. But why should I make people understand me? As if they'd even listen. Sometimes it's just easier to close myself off than play a game I'll never win. My mom describes being on the spectrum like pushing a rectangle through a circular hole. It won't go through. Well, not unless you shave the edges off. But no matter how hard I try to be a circle, I'm still just a rectangle. How am I more do I need to shave? Do not answer that. My whole life I've spent shaving, masking parts of myself to fit into what I'm supposed to be. But people can still find that uncanny valley of me. Those gaps they can't quite put their finger on. Sad reality is, I'll never truly fit. Chapter 7. Now what? Here's the irony. I may have trouble finding my place in this world, but when it comes to fighting for others, I hold nothing back. If I see anyone feeling targeted, harassed, or ignored, I step in without hesitation. I've been told I can get scary in those situations. Maybe I scared you already. No one should have to feel what I felt in those moments, especially if I can stop them from happening. I have to be an advocate now. I've aged out of acting. Seriously, 30 is basically hospice in Hollywood. Listen, I've been in this business for as long as I can remember. As soon as my act stopped being cute, I was no longer relevant. I was growing up. The worst thing that can happen to a young star. The inspirational porn industry loves children, but they'll never admit it. Dying's more ideal. Stars shine brightest during a supernova, a poetic way to describe their inevitable collapse. Ah, what a legacy. Everything changes when you get older. My whole career was built on being this thing you take care of, something that makes you feel better about yourself by association, like a nickel for a kid in Africa, or sick puppy in the pound. But what happens if no one adopts the puppy? Left behind? Forgotten? Then dying's not as ideal. Ooh, let's make a bet. I bet you'd all feel worse for the sad, sick puppy than you would for the sad supernova star. That's just human nature. I bet my money on it. I knew what I had to do. With whatever embers I had left, I rekindled sparks to start anew. Like a baby bird that was pushed from the nest, I was expected to soar. I had to take care of myself in the world that had once sheltered me. I had to be a responsible adult. My own job, place, healthy relationships. And besides, my mother got tired of being my manager. I couldn't use my autism as a crutch. Not as a grown-ass woman anyway. And I couldn't afford to be some washed-up has-been. I had to submit myself for roles in a new age range. I was now a woman. Chapter 8, my first of many. In college, I met my other first love. There was something about his calm, straightforward demeanor that just pulled me in. One night we were watching Pulp Fiction, his favorite film. And as the credits rolled, this normally reserved guy just started talking a mile a minute. So I shut him up by kissing him. He had these gorgeous, kind brown eyes I could actually look into without feeling forced or like my brain was on fire. He said I made him feel the same way. And that he cared about me. Cared about me? You don't even know me. I don't think I believed it. How could someone choose me so quickly? Especially with my Made for Men mask. But maybe, just maybe he was different. And for a while he proved it. When I went back to school, he'd drive nearly 4 hours every month just to see me. With him, I wasn't some trophy or sexy caregiver, or just a convenient placeholder. I was someone he truly wanted to know. He was like a warm bath, soothing, calming, and all-consuming. Maybe it was the Scorpio energy, but whatever it was, I couldn't get enough. I knew if I was going to have sex for the first time, it was going to be with him. My mom got us a hotel room nearby with a dull gray building blocking the view. Scenic, right? Things were getting hot and heavy, and then suddenly, the moment of truth, he pulls out his fire and ice condom. For those of you that haven't had the pleasure, imagine icy hot on your genitals. At first, he managed to slide his dick under me rather than inside me. It felt like a credit card that wasn't going through. So I just lied there, staring at the dull gray building outside, waiting for him to finish whatever he was doing. And what felt like forever, he finally asks me, "How was it?" I said, "How was what?" He wasn't satisfied with that answer. Frankly, Neither was I. He was closer to the Z spot than the G spot. Wrong side of the alphabet. With better aim, he does manage to get inside me, but it hurt more than I expected. He claimed I was too tight. That made me cry because isn't that what guys want? Like, why wasn't I good at this? Why wasn't I enough for him? On top of that, someone who either has an icy hot fetish or just hates contraception thought putting menthol and cayenne in these fuckers was a good idea. That would explain why my crotch and his dick was on fire. And ice. But much like Jon Snow in, ironically, A Song of Ice and Fire, he knew nothing. And frankly, neither did I. At least we weren't cousins. So he fingered me instead, and we called it a night. Yeah, I know, how romantic. In case you were wondering, we did manage to figure it out after 3 attempts. The trick? I had to say I love you. Oh, fuck off. And regular condoms didn't hurt either. Chapter 9, you can't spell bright without autism spectrum disorder. The B silent. Bitch. College, this is my sister in the audience, can you tell? College was way better than high school, hands down. Growing up, I pictured college as the promised land for education, love, and acceptance. My parents, they met in Cornell. My dad caught my mom when she tripped on ice. College is where you find your best friends. Shout out to Mitch in the booth. Woo! And most importantly, be where you find yourself. No more bullying or feeling like you didn't belong. It was where everything finally made sense. Once I got out from under my parents' roof, I got more experimental. Parties, drinking, recreational drugs. Things you'd never expect an autistic girl like me to get into. What? You think just because I'm autistic, I binge old SpongeBob episodes or, I don't know, watch Wicked on repeat just so I have a reason to cry? I mean, I do, but that's not the point. Sophomore year, I went to this house party with beer pong and vodka-soaked gummy worms. And earlier that night, I made my first mistake, eating spinach at the calf. By the time I learned how to play flip cup, I was too far gone. I sat on the couch as the room spun faster and faster, and then I projectile vomited all over myself. I earned a new role on my resume, trashy party girl who couldn't hold her liquor. Very proud. If you know, you know. For the most part, the only drugs I had done at the time was smoking weed with my sister. Back in high school, it was a top secret from our parents. Now it was just a part of our radicalized Marxist Ivy League stoner brand. Very proud. One time we got synthetic weed, and I swear I saw either my dog Lucy or my brother just staring at me at the end of my vision. Just staring at me. But when I turned around, nobody was there. It was like a scene from a horror movie. Oh, well, speaking of horror movies, I got lost in the woods once. Don't worry, it was at a techno rave music festival with blaring bass, seizure-inducing strobes, and total strangers. Super safe, right? You think I'd hate raves like this because of the sensory overload, and you know me, right? But something about the bass reverberating in my bones just sends me to a whole new plane of existence. What can I say? I'm just a sensory-seeking autistic girl and likes to chase all kinds of sensations, with or without partners. Oh, jeez. That whole music festival was completely out of my comfort zone. Nobody followed a schedule. I asked if we had an itinerary, and they all laughed at me. Like an artist would start at 3, but by then, everyone was too high to care. I'll be totally honest, not that far off from Edinburgh Fringe. The whole situation made me feel like an overcharged battery that was about to explode. That's when I tried acid. And something had changed within me. I felt connected to these strangers in a way that I never felt with anyone ever in my entire life. Normally I'd be freaking out about being in a real-life Blair Witch project, but not Gabrielle the Enlightened, no. She was finally enjoying the journey instead of hyper-fixating on the destination. As the group chatted, I heard this voice as clear as day, like I was Joan of Arc. It's not your turn to talk. And that's okay. You can just listen right now. Woo! need a lot more than that. I broke up with Mrs. Scorpio, the fire and ice condom guy, 6 years later. I tried expressing my needs, telling him how I felt emotionally neglected, but he was going through family and financial struggles. Too much for anyone, let alone their autistic partner. It felt like I was a black hole to him. How can you take care of someone if you can't even take care of yourself? I try to be there for the people I love, a shoulder to cry on, an ear that just listens. I mean, that's my whole MO as a Cancer crab, mother of the zodiac. All I want to do is relate to others and share my own experience. Like, for instance, if you were to tell me your pet died, I would sympathetically say, I know exactly how you feel. My fish died a few months ago and I thought my life was over. You either think I said the right thing or I just made it all about myself. How much attention do you think I crave? Don't answer that. Apparently you're supposed to say, I'm sorry that happened to you. Which to me sounds more disingenuous, but what do I know? I just live in a world where my first instinct is always wrong. That's precisely why I'm asked. And lately dating has been feeling like a string of bad auditions. Somehow each one outdoes the last. It's honestly impressive. In the most pathetic way. Some honorable mentions include Bachelor number 1 asked me if I had an OnlyFans, hated my crystals, because his ex stabbed him with one. Bachelor number 2 was 20 pounds heavier than his Hinge profile, and then debated me on circumcision when I told him I was Jewish. Oh, buckle up, bitches. And then Bachelor number 3 totaled a cop car with a broken toilet because of Pokemon Go. Now, I will say it again because I too had trouble processing it the first time I heard it. He couldn't find the right Pokemon he was looking for. Found this broken toilet on the side of the road, and then used that to total a cop car. All because of Pokemon Go. Oh, and he was an aspiring actor/comedian, just like me. But he couldn't use that story in his set because of the statute of limitations. Aww. But I can! Thank you. And a year later, Bachelor number 3 texted me for a refund for our one and only date. So just to break this down for you, he said he was really broke right now and I was not worth the investment. You know, like a person. And I was only condescending 75% of the time. Could have been 100, so that's my fault. And that if I wanted to be a real one, there's his cash app that I'm not giving him the liberty of even having. And so I responded, I'm going to block you instead, and that's priceless. Thank you. Feel free to use that on your next fuckboy, girl, they, them, wherever. As you can tell, it's really hard for me to find deep connections, and when I do, they're impossible for me to get rid of, even if they've been awful to me. And that's just with men. With women, oh boy. They're like these short, elusive sparks that come on strong and then poof, they leave a trail of smoke and ash behind. Oh. There's probably something else that I need to mention to you guys. In the style of NSYNC, I'm... Tell me how my sexuality was harder to come to terms with than my autism. Like my autism, my bisexuality is fluid, complex, and often misunderstood. Or, as my grandma accidentally described it to her friends, liquid. I was about 12 years old when I started looking up girls kissing in my incognito browser. I can't pinpoint exactly what indoctrinated me. It's something you either are or you're not. It's not something for men to fetishize, and it's certainly not a choice. If it was, you think I'd still be dealing with men? Let's be so for real. The first date I had with a girl was with someone I met on the Her app. And funny enough, it was also the same night I heard Pink Pony Club at Chapel Roan for the first time. This was before she got big. If that's not a sign, I don't know what is. The thing about dating women is you never really know if it's a date. At least I don't. Well, it's just because you don't want to come on too strong or make them uncomfortable or overstep their boundaries. If only certain men got the memo. Anyways, we went to this bar with live music, and she called me a sex kitten and confirmed it was a date. On the Uber ride back, I started to cry. Maybe it was all the drinks, the pandemic trauma, or just being on my own for the first time. Either way, crying during dates was a bad habit of mine for a while. But she didn't care. She wiped away my tears so tenderly and told me everything's going to be okay. With her, I felt cared for in a way I hadn't felt in a long time, more than what any man could provide. I got back to my place, and yes, it was a date. I felt like I found a piece of myself that I didn't know was missing. And for the first time, everything finally made sense. Well, almost. Was I really bi if I didn't reciprocate? Society loves to equate attraction with experience, but we shouldn't discredit attraction just because we haven't had the chance to explore it. Whether you're a solid, liquid, or a gas, it doesn't matter. And it never should. Not long after that, I matched with no exaggeration here, a literal Princess Jasmine on Tinder. I'm not saying she worked at Disney World, but she could have. We made plans to meet that night. I mean, she could have been a catfish for all I knew, but it was worth the 40-minute commute. With men, I would have been a statistic on a Netflix true crime documentary. With women, a steamy Netflix thriller. I'm sure I'd still die, but like, what a way to go, right? Oh, don't look at me like that. I don't make the rules. When I got to her place, I found out a couple things. She had a 2-year-old, and her boyfriend was stationed in Korea. Sounds like a bad porno plot, doesn't it? Normally I have a strong moral code about these things, but I was already there. And ovulating? What? I am only human. And besides, as long as she Snapchats videos of us making out to her boyfriend, it's not cheating, right? Right? Don't look at me like that, or don't answer that. You know, it's called a double standard, but I support women's rights and their wrongs. Period. Besides, I was just trying to get laid. It's not my business. Oh God, I am just as bad as a man. Jeez. Anyway, her place is full of witchy shit, right? Tarot cards included. As she shuffles the deck, she asks Spirit how the night's gonna go. Frankly, I didn't need the cards. I already knew. She pulls out the lover's card and new romantic cycles beginning. Need I say more? There was also some other card about healing, but who gives a shit? That's when I kissed her. One thing led to another, and yes, I reciprocated. During our little magic carpet ride, her 2-year-old starts screaming. I figured that was my cue for a water break. This small child looks up at me, points and goes, "Mommy, who is that?" And I'm just over here like, "Oh, hi, Jimmy. I just fucked your mom." Oh, but Jimmy didn't care. He was too busy crying about not getting gummies past his bedtime. He asked me for them, but his mom said no. Joke's on him, I'm bottom. At least I was that night. I never saw her again. She moved on to Snow White, some German brunette. Hi-ho? More like bye-ho. It's a shame. She promised to buy a strap-on to use on me. C'est la vie. Her cat really liked me, though. I guess you could say I'm a real pussy magnet. TikTok, chapter 12. TikTok, your time is running out. Less like the app and more like Kesha. If you were to tell my younger self I'd be on stage like this, talking about my autism, let alone strap-ons, I would have disassociated. Talk about growth, right? It seems like I'm not the only one who's experienced growth over the past couple decades. Oh God, I can feel the dust collecting on my skin just saying that. Nowadays, mental health carries less of a stigma, and autism has become a big topic of conversation online. My biggest flex? I got my diagnosis before TikTok. I'm happy people are getting the awareness and support that they need, and I'm all for self-diagnosing, but I feel like you need more than a couple TikToks to claim a label. Sometimes it feels like people collect mental illnesses like Pokemon. You gotta catch them all, but it is not worth totally cop cars over. Neurodivergence is nuanced and complicated. You don't realize it until it's in your face and impossible to ignore. I used to think people just wanted the clout, but that was the internalized ableism talking. I can't be better to those that have more resources than I did, and that's not fair to anyone. People are just trying to find their place in this world, and if it takes building a community online, then so be it. As long as they're not using it for external validation, where's the harm? Social media warps our perception of reality, vaunting milestones like marriage and kids. Look, they can do it, why can't you? Sometimes I think I'm just better off I'm too chronically online for that. I can confidently say that I have a disability, no matter how well I mask. And in a world that's constantly questioning the validity of your experience, how do you prove your value? Or maybe you're just a product that nobody wants to buy. Chapter 13. Do dreams really come true? My favorite fairy tales ever sold? Cinderella and the Little Mermaid. Cinderella always gets shit on for waiting for a prince instead of being a strong, independent woman. But here's the thing. Cinderella never wanted a prince. She worked round the clock, almost till midnight, and grins and bears it. She just wanted a night out. Who could blame her? I mean, why can't I get a fairy godmother that pays for my Uber, gets me a nice dress, and lets me have a literal ball? Or is that a sugar daddy? Okay, it's a bit older than a prince, but I'll take what I can get. And then there's the Little Mermaid. Her desire for more than life under the sea was all-consuming, like drowning even with gills to breathe. She gave up her voice to chase her dreams. And if a bold little mud skipper could crawl out of the water and change life on Earth forever, what's stopping us from being bold, risk-taking mud skippers? I always thought that if I played my part right, like a good little princess, I'd earn my happily ever after. But reality isn't a fairy tale. I'm open to love, but I can't risk giving that much of myself away again, especially when I'm holding on to what little I have left. I ask myself this all the time. What's wrong with wanting more? You may think I'm the girl who has everything, but I want more. I can never stay content. New job, place, relationship. Once it runs its course, I'm already longing for the next thing. I wish I wasn't so selfish to want someone that loves me as much as I love them, to match my energy. I wish I was a stronger vessel, the perfect friend, sister, daughter. Maybe I just don't have the range. I try to be there for him, but he'd build these walls around himself, like the dull gray building outside our hotel window. When he couldn't take it anymore, he'd shout cruel, sharp jabs at me. When I confronted him, he just said he'd black out and couldn't remember. How convenient. I was no longer someone he had to care for. I was just someone who had to deal with it. When I asked if he didn't prioritize us anymore, he said, "You're right." It was final. He no longer chose me. After many tears, I packed up my things and drove to my parents' place. What was once a warm, comforting bath turned into a cold, dark abyss. With whatever strength I had, I chose myself. By then, I had nothing else to lose. And even more tragic, neither did he. Relationships are a lot like show business. Constant audition for low pay and even lower residuals. If I never got that big break, that role of a lifetime in his life, I can't help but wonder, did I mean anything to anyone? What mark did I leave if they were so ready to move on? That's why. In order to survive, I'm constantly looking for the next gig. Because even the irreplaceable get replaced. Epilogue. Where is she now? Most of my relationships are fleeting, just people passing through. It'd be a privilege to be perceived as a painting. Precise paint strokes of my essence, studied like a masterpiece. Instead, I sell my soul to live in a zoo. People come from different cities just to catch a glimpse of me. I'd be so well behaved, performing tricks and earning treats for my devotion. The applause tells me they love me. I'd see a mother whose eyes gleam with hope, a stoic father cracks over a smile, and a child, not yet aware of how terrifying it is to be on the inside, wanting to be my friend. They all peer through the bars and say, "She must be one of the wonders of God's own creation." But inevitably, the lights go out, and I'm left alone in a cage I can't escape or let anyone in. Is it sad? Maybe. It's better than living in obscurity. Or perhaps I confuse the two, obscurity and loneliness. Two sides of the same coin. The worst part? not even all that special. I'm not the kind of autism where the quarterback takes the girl to prom out of pity, or the kind that learns how to say I love you with an iPad. Yet, here I am, stuck on this pedestal so high, I fear the view from halfway down. To you, I'm a miracle, a challenge. To your balance, novelty. I astound you, confound you. I loved you. And it wasn't enough. The catch-22 of resilience being too much, yet not enough. And it never will be. For any of you. Don't be so surprised. I told you this wasn't a fluff piece. You've been active participants this whole time. All I ask of you is to show up. Because who would? Exactly. That's what makes it so newsworthy. I'm afraid I don't know who I am anymore, even in my own fantasies. You know the stories of the brave prince who slays a dragon to save the princess? Growing up is realizing you were never meant to be the princess. You're the dragon, meant to be slain all along. Life as an inspirational porn star means you're either idolized or inconvenient. I have so much to offer, or at least I think I do. I don't want to be mediocre, and I don't want to be another statistic. I am different. I am so sick and tired of my greatest achievements being everyone else's bare minimum. I mean, sure, I exceeded everyone's expectations, but at what cost? If everyone's special, then no one is. And I'm no exception. Feeling inspired yet?